And we're live. What is going on? Churros in the his ass. I'm gonna get right into the thick of things. Today's episode brought to you by Patreon. It is that time of the week where we dedicate some time to our loyalest of loyal, our dearly, truly beloved Patreons. What is going on? I hope all of y'all is having a great week. It is Friday, of course. That means that we end the week with some of that goodness, some of that unfiltered, uncut, raw, to the dome, some of that churros, crispy flavor. And as I have been announcing, I have got a fun one planned today. Now, it's going to be a bit of an experiment. I have never done this before. It's ranking Barça podcast / YouTube channels with Tier Maker. Now, you're going to have to excuse me. Y'all knows that when it comes to being tech savvy, I'm not on the top of the list, let's say, as a go-to person that keeps tabs or knows how to do these types of things. But I thought it would be fun in the absence of domestic football and during this international break to give you guys a little bit of my, I guess, feedback, a little bit of my where I get my information from, or at least the people that I like to hear the information from. And I think it has value. I certainly enjoyed the exercise. I just want to make sure that that this is going to come out well, okay? It might come out a little bit sloppy, in which case I am very sorry. And it is also possible, in fact, not just possible, but very likely that during this podcast we are going to get interrupted because we're expecting a delivery, a package, a special delivery. Yes, indeed. The Lorin household is going to get a washing machine once again. No more washing dishes, darling. We're moving up in the world. So, anyways, all that stuff could most likely happen over the time where we're gonna be ranking these YouTube channels. So let me start by sharing my screen. I want to delete these ones. It says delete row. I don't want to delete the row. I just want to delete the preset here of what tiermaker.com has already put in place. Hope you guys are having a good week. It is again Sans Kian. I do apologize for that. Quite swamped with his work, and asked if I could hold down the fort while he focuses his efforts mainly on managing minions while I hold down the churros fort. And of course, for my beloved friend, I am willing to do exactly that, hoping that in the meantime we can have some fun. We can still discuss a bunch of Barça and Madrid related topics. Here we go. And also, like I said, just have some fun with this, okay? So I know I announced as well, got 2 in the chamber, 2 in the barrel. This was one of them. I think that before I dropped to you guys the long-awaited and anticipated podcast where I talk about, why basically I feel that international Madridistas are perhaps not as much in the know of what their club, the power, let's say, that their club has had over the course of, over 100 years, really. And how, it is all fun and good games to talk about Negreira, and it's something that I have talked about openly. However, still in that case, nothing has been proven. In the meantime, things are getting a little bit hot under the collar over in Hermaji land, and for good reason. But it is about time, because there's been systematic corruption happening on that front for years on end, and the press has been simply too cowardly to report on it. And it is my duty to bring that to you guys. So I thought in lead up to that, let me just give you guys a little bit of background info as to where I get the information from. Again, not directly from, but more where I like to hear it from who I like to hear it being reported. So let's have fun with this, all right? Couldn't live without it. Really good, neutral, bad, fucking trash, and don't use are the different tiers. Mm, I think this is pretty good, as in applicable to the examples that I'm going to give you guys. Save or download? No, I don't want to do either of that. What I wanted to do, yes, choose files. I've already made a sort of a pre-list of the channels. Now, mind you, I'm going to limit this to Barça channels, and the vast majority is Spanish speaking, okay? Spanish or Catalan speaking, mainly Spanish. There is one or two English ones, so fear not. But maybe I need to do also a better job at keeping tabs and keeping up to date with the different English-speaking Barça channels that are out there. What I want to do as well is, I start with Barça, but I would like to do one for Madrid channels. I think that's only fair and it's fun as well. So let's get into it, shall we? Put on a little tunes, a little bit of música. It is Friday after all. It is churros, and it is the D-Spot special flavor. So here we go. I'm going to start with, this is going to be in no particular order, obviously. I'm just going to grab them as they come along. And let's start with an English one. Okay, fine. The Barcelona pod, the Barça pod. I have had the pleasure to been on the Barça pod several times. I should say that with all respect to Dan, shit, I think it's Dan. Excuse me if I am confusing podcasts, but I do. Let me see. It was Dan. Okay, he does a wonderful job, quite frankly, at when it comes to hosting a podcast, when it comes to preparing a podcast. He does a great job at making it both. Yes, Dan Hilton, my friend Dan Hilton. I was right. Sometimes I gotta trust my own gut. By the way, today's churros brought to you by Estrella Damm. Quite frankly, the best normal standard beer that you can get there. This one in Turia in Spain. The Galicia Damm one is nice, and in these shooters, little 25 centiliters, nice and cold. Oof, it hits the spot, especially on this Saturday afternoon. So I'm gonna go with Dan. I'm gonna add him here in the really good. I like it. It's informative. He takes his time to prepare. In fact, he takes his preparation, his mise en place, let's say, very, very serious indeed. I feel like he should be getting more exposure, if anything. We've been doing it. I'm going to include it myself in this one for a very long time. The Barcelona pod has been around since I can remember, from when I started with D-Spot and Churros. And he deserves more than, he's almost on 11,000 followers on YouTube as well. His numbers are, they deserve better. And I don't know what, the hurdle is in his case. We face similar problems. A lot of it has to do with reach. A lot of it has to do with maybe being more clickbaity, maybe being more appealing to a TikTok type crowd. I don't know what it is, but I do think that he does a very good job in hosting a podcast and preparing his podcasts. Now, when it comes to English-speaking podcasts, I just simply don't listen that much to them, quite frankly. And that's maybe why I should move on to the next English one. I don't have that many, and that's Talk FCB. What does he say? It was funny. So me and Talk FCB, we started out our YouTube channels roughly at the same time. I would say it was very. He grew much faster, mind you. He took off and just started racking up followers, racking up views, while D Spot was much more of I mean, it's still now it's basically unused, but even at that time I was very flaky. I was not consistent, not as much as Talk FCB guy. But Risca el Barça. That's what he says. Risca until the hour, or what does he say? Until the next time. Risca el Barça. That really got under my skin. I'm like, dude, at least know how to pronounce Visca. Don't say Visca. You know what? Everybody knows that in Spanish, the la V, the V, is pronounced as a B. Visca. Please. There were certain things that kind of got under my skin. I was a hater. His growth was quick. My growth was definitely not as quick, for a good reason, because I just simply was far less consistent, but also much more concerned about finding a way to earn a living as quickly as possible in this field. I came from the music industry, made a crossover into broadcasting by simply opening my YouTube channel. My son was just born. I was doing a master's in sports journalism at a time, and I felt a lot of pressure to become, or to continue to be rather, a provider for my family. Right, I was in my mid-30s, and there was this stress, like, hey, I'm going to make a risky career change. I don't know anybody in this industry. Start a YouTube channel, have something where you can broadcast and build experience from and network. And that's exactly what I did. And that's what landed me a job at La Liga TV. And very, very quickly did I realize that, hey, especially starting out, being a nobody, having a YouTube channel and simultaneously reporting on La Liga teams is not something that La Liga was particularly fond of. They never told me to not do my YouTube channel, but similarly to my start with Barça, they did let it, they made it known, let's say, that I needed to measure my weight. I say all this because in the meantime, Talk FCB was blowing up, right? And I was doing my Twitter thing a little bit here and there. I was working for Barça Blaugranas. I thought that was a doorbell going off. And why do I say this? Because in fact, that there were D-Spot was growing, a little bit, and I was getting some viewership, and viewers were me estaban animando. They were kind of encouraging me to do collaborations with Talk FCB, and I never shied away from it. I was like, yeah, fuck it, for sure. I'll do that. I'm happy to do that. I was happy to work with anybody. I was just happy that things were working out. I was getting jobs with Copa 90. I was getting interviewed by CNN for some things. So I felt like I was making my way into this world and becoming sort of a KOL, a key info, or what is it, key opinion leader, something like that, right? Look, I felt like I've got something to say. I might not be as my presence on social media might be not as big, and that was certainly true, but I was working in La Liga TV. I was doing things sporadically with Copa 90. I was working for Pique's eFootball Pro thing. So, I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's collaborate for sure. But he never, it was multiple times where people would tag him, be like, you two, you gotta get together. So he clearly would see it. He wasn't that big as he is today. But he didn't. He didn't want to. And that's totally fine. That's his choice. I don't know if he has done any collaborations. Maybe he hasn't. He has done tremendously well, and that's great for him. But so I'm gonna kind of go on neutral because I feel like from what again, I haven't seen him in years, but what I do remember from him was his analysis was good. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that from what I heard, the topics that he would discuss, or these are about like Valverde days. His criticism of Valverde was rightly placed, and I agreed with a whole lot of it. So, and his delivery was good. I had no problem with it, except for the Viscal Barça part. That would always maybe like, get the fucking naming right at least. And I knew as well. He always said that he started following Barça with Ronaldinho, I think it was, and I remember that because I felt like I could complement his content with bringing a more rounder maybe knowledge of the history of the Barça teams in the past. I've been following Barça since, okay, I'm not going to say 1989, even though I could argue that I did. That's when Koeman signed. That's when I got my first Barça jersey. But, it was, I was fucking 8 years old, 9 years old, living in Holland, just receiving newspaper snippets from my grandfather here in Barcelona. So internet wasn't there, and then I followed it, as much as I could as an 8, 9-year-old kid. It wasn't until internet though, and I started traveling around in the 90s that allowed me to have a much more of a day-to-day, or even let's say weekly initially, keeping up tabs with Barça, right? Watching them regularly. So, anyways, let's put him over there. Finishing off the English roundup is Mes que un pod. Original title, Pablo. Pablo Merino, Wolves. My friend, my little brother from Barça Studios. Oh my goodness, as this kid endeared himself to me, quite frankly, to everybody in Barça Studios. Es un fichajazo. He's been a great signing, a welcomed one for the international team. Pablo Wolves. I would hope a lot of you watching, even though it's the majority Madridistas, but that's maybe some of you watching, know Pablo Wolves. He is kid from England who's joined Barça Studios the same time that I was called back full time. So this is last season, April, May-ish. And it's just an incredible football mind. He's young, he's smart, his head and heart are in exactly the right place. And check out his stuff. I told him today, I was like, I'm going to shout you out on the pod today, even though I haven't seen any of your podcasts, your Miskeon pod on YouTube. Plenty do. They get like 1,000 something views, 2,000. And I just from my conversations with Pablo, I know that he is a great listen. He's a great football mind. His memory, like he has photographic memory. It is insane. He literally remembers the score of any game that you'll throw his way, dating back to. Actually, maybe I should, test that. Is how far back he goes. But I mean, for a person that has short-term memory problems and doesn't remember the score from like 2-3 weeks ago, or at least needs to stop and think about it, let alone who scored what minute, he's got that shit down like Rayman style. Okay, Dustin Hoffman Rayman. He'll just throw you scores, goals, which minute, and who the authors behind the goals. Pablito, I love you. I call him my son or my younger brother. He could be my son age-wise. Very young. I think he's 21. And so, we've all taken him under our wings and exploited him to death. He's a hard worker and great kid. And any of you that want to listen to some good Barça content in English, go follow Mesqueon Pod. Easy title to remember. Now, to the heavy hitters. The motherfucking heavy hitters. All right, the Spanish speaking. I realize that this is more difficult to follow for you guys. We're the tunes. However, I would encourage any and all of you to listen to me carefully, because my opinion is the law. All right, it is the Bible. These are great Barça accounts, great listens. Not all, in fact. And we're going to start off with the worst of the worst. Señor Antonio Guijarro en clave Blaugrana, also known as en clave blanco, en clave canta mañanas. This guy, he's a piece of work, all right? I will put him in between fucking trash and just don't use. I'm gonna say don't use, but maybe even a little bit more fucking trash and use sometimes, because here is somebody, it is the classic example of a person that pretends to be somebody that he's not, all the while licking ass to the crowd that is feeding his content, that is giving him views, that is giving him a little bit of dinerito, and that is the Madridista crowd. So it's basically, you know, a wolf dressed up as a sheep. He says he pretends that he is a Barça fan, hence the name Enclave Blaugrana. However, he is very far from it. I think I've showed you guys directly on this podcast like some of the titles, the thumbnails, but mainly titles, you know, that he uses on his YouTube channel, and it is constant criticism for Barça, but not even like well placed, well thought out criticism. It is just hating, attacks. There are rumors that he was desperate to get a job with Laporta, and he was denied a job on his junta, or like leading, you know, Barça studios. This was told to us by I think Miguel Ángel from El 10 del Barça, who I would put, you know, into a very favorable ranking here. Yeah, really good. I say that because they were ex-colleagues, okay? They work together, they know each other. There's a history there that is definitely gone sour, where Miguel Ángel El 10 del Barça have remained, let's say, loyal to the cause, whereas Guijarro, who, again, has a history of also just being two-faced. You know, he got a chance to interview Laporta, and you should see that interview. Lo único que falta, the only thing missing, is him like literally pulling out Laporta's package and kissing it, because he's doing all of that and more just with the words, like showering with compliments and saying things like, if you go to the right, I go to the right. If you go to the left, I go to the left. Just a fanatic when it comes to a Laporta supporter. And now every single day throws shade towards Laporta and Barça's direction, under the umbrella, under the facade that he's a Barça fan, while also praising Florentino Perez and anything that Real Madrid do, defending it, you know, from the disaster that is the Bernabeu with the licenses. By the way, you know, again, it's a shame that Kian isn't here. I would like to know his opinion on the latest developments, because it looks like not only the concerts were illegal that took place in the Bernabeu, but potentially also the footballing activities that have taken place over like 23 years or something. Again, this will all have to be confirmed, but so far, things that are leaking from hearings in town halls, it's like that the Bernabeu just didn't have their shit intact. The licenses were expired, therefore making all these activities illegal. Hey, we could see a little bit of a spiral or a downfall happening. It will be interesting to see how the media will cover it. We all know, of course, that the media will stay far away from criticizing. Again, these are things you're not reading about to the same degree as you would if it had been Barça. But the Bernabeu, the parkings, all these things that I have been mentioning on this podcast are slowly but surely crumbling and showing their colors of exactly what has been happening. That is my cue, guys. I guess, should I do a two-taker? Okay, I have to stop it here because I gotta let them in. I'm gonna be back to finish this off. For now, I gotta end this here. Part 2 coming once I've dealt with the people bringing the dishwasher. See you in a minute. Peace.